Zangiefsgym here. I'm Timothy, and this is video 6.1 in my series on how to fight Menat with Zangief. So in the last video I talked about 6.0. I talked about the first strategy against fighting Menat with Zangief. One of the Zangief's strategies that you can use is to simply know your enemy, and that in this case is Menat. Now that can carry over into other opponents as well. That would hold true if you want to know how to fight Guile. Practice against, learn Guile first, practice against his moves, find out what his different moves are, and then you'll be better against fighting him already. You'll already be better without even improving your Zangief. You'll already be a better player when you're fighting that specific opponent, and in this case for us it's Menat. So I covered that in the last video. I hope you'll check that out. 6.0, I covered that. This is 6.1. I'll move on now. This is, I've titled this one, Without Crystal Ball Exposure, or Menat Without Her Crystal Ball Exposure. Because of the length of titles, I have to kind of abbreviate here a little bit. But that's the gist of this video, is talking about one of the Zangief strategies is to take advantage of Menat when she does not have her crystal ball. It's exposure. Without crystal ball exposure. That's the idea behind this. One of Zangief's strategies is when she throws that orb out, that crystal ball out, go in for the kill. Go in and just let her have it. Wear her down, take her down as best as you can. I mean, use caution. Always be wary. Menat is a very strong combo character, very defensive. She has a lot of good combos. She can still be problematic even without the orb. It's not orb in or nothing at all. I mean, she's not totally helpless without that orb. She's not entirely dependent upon it, but definitely she's at her best when she has it. So it makes sense to expose her when she does not have this ball, the crystal ball in her hands. Okay, be aware she can still activate V trigger and still perform her critical art when she, regardless of whether she has a crystal ball or not. If she activates that, she can start, she can activate these orbs, regardless of having her main crystal ball in her hands. Which one is that? Oh, it's a light kick, probably. Light punch. There we go, light kick. Okay. She can still activate that V trigger and use it without the crystal orb, so that's important to know. But if she pulls, so if I get back over here again, and she pulls that back in, if I hit her during, oh, I did not time that right. I was hoping it was that far away I'd be able to get it right. And so we go over here. Okay, so she tries to pull that back. Now I'm gonna hit her as that orb is coming back in, and it's gonna be, see, it's dulled out. It didn't hurt me. Now I had to full screen it because I'm trying to do this as one person, both controllers, but that's fine. But you see my point. When she's pulling that orb back, I hit her so that the orb doesn't work. So you get the idea that even if she does try to pull that orb right back in so she can grab it again and take it and try to reverse the situation, try to gain the upper hand again, even if she does do that, because we're hitting her and because we took advantage of her without the crystal ball, we exposed her weakness, which is her fighting abilities without the crystal ball are diminished. Her range of motion is diminished, and we expose that. So even if she pulls the orb back in, if we hit her while she's pulling it back in, the orb won't hurt us. Okay? But we're exposing her weakness. Her damage is minimized. Or I mean, a little bit, guys. I mean, like, if it's 70 points of damage, now it'll be 60. It's not huge. The damage reduction is minimal. The biggest advantage we have is she loses all that range. Normally her medium punch would come out here with the orb. Now look at her medium punch. It scarcely leaves the externals of her body. It barely goes out in front of her, like a little tiny quarter or half an inch. It doesn't even fall. So this is the time to go in and take huge gambles. It's okay to take a few risks. Now, let's see, if we jump in, right, if she does the anti-air, she's got a decent kick, okay, because she's got long enough legs that she can knock us out of the air. If we jump in, I'm trying to time this right. Yeah, so if we jump in, she's going to get the anti-air, so be a little cautious about the jump in. But this is a great time to dash in SPD because her range is so bad. With the exception of her medium kick. Her standing medium kick is really her best defense. So just be aware that her kicks are the best things that she has when she doesn't have the orb. Standing medium kick and standing strong kick are the only things that she really has to threaten us with. But even then, okay, so let's say she's doing that and she's trying to keep us out, okay? Still, standing hard punch is going to beat her medium kick. Her medium kick only reaches here. We're well within range to belt her with that standing hard punch. Even the quick version, which doesn't reach as far, you know, the quick version, press and release, we still can get her, even if she's kicking. You know, we can still get her, okay? Literally like every single time. So that's a good move. And that's why later on, I don't want to spoil it, but later on one of my strategies is actually using this standing hard punch. I won't go into that because I'm going to do that in that video. But this is the whole thing. When she doesn't have that ball, I will caution you, just be aware of the two things that she can still do, is she can still do the B trigger, and she can still do her critical art. Okay? She can still do that. It has a little bit of a slow startup though. That's the cool thing about us being Zangief, is because she has a slow startup on her critical art, we have a chance to block. I didn't even have Zangief's controller in my hand, and I was still able to pick it up and block in time. So, yeah. So that's cool, right? This goes back to point 1, 6.0. Know your enemy. Know Menat. You know her critical art has a slow startup. You have decent or ample time to engage your block position, your guard position, before she actually does it. And when she doesn't have the orb in her hand, without the crystal ball, that's the time to go in. That's the time to expose her weakness. Menat's weakness is to not have the crystal ball in her hands. So that's really the point of this strategy. As far as getting her to actually use the crystal orb attack, I think that'll be situational, but I would say if you're using a lot of your normal moves and you're poking pretty good with that standing hard punch, and you're also taking advantage of different situations, such as using the running bear grab and stuff, you may force her. The goal is to force her to have to throw out the crystal ball because she feels like she has to do this to stop you. That's good. That's good if you make her, because then once she throws it out, you know she's at her weakest. She's at her weakest point. Go ahead and start taking advantage of this. Expose her weakness. Menat without the crystal ball is at her weakest position, her weakest condition possible. So that's the time to expose her. Just be wary of meters, and be wary that if she pulls the crystal ball in and you're out here, it will hit you. So block it, or be in close, which hopefully you are if you took advantage of this exposure concept, this exposure strategy. Just hit her once with any normal move, preferably Zangief's fast ones, such as the standing light punch, and the fastest are his crouching light punch, crouching light kick. Crouching light punch has the best range. I would opt for that. If you see that crystal ball moving, boom, if you're already standing, go ahead and just do the light punch standing. But if you happen to be crouched, go ahead and get that light punch, crouching light punch. Nail her, and boom, you'll see the orb be grayed out, or be it'll stop glowing. It'll be grayed out. It'll stop glowing, and you know you won't take any damage. You know that because you've been doing 6.0, you've been knowing your enemy, you've been learning Menat, so you know these things. You can expose Menat's weakness of not having the crystal ball, but then when she pulls it back, I couldn't do it in time. Ball doesn't hurt you. Why? Because you've learned Menat and you know these things about her. Okay, guys, that's really it for this one. Expose her weakness. That's Menat without the crystal ball. Just be wary of her critical art and V-trigger. She can do those without the crystal ball. Alright guys, that's it for this strategy, 6.1. Thanks for watching, and watch for 6.2.